I'd ask us all to pause to seek guidance. Okay, now we'll have the reading of our mission statement. To provide, promote, or facilitate municipal services that meet the community needs by preserving, supporting, and enhancing quality of life for all. The next is the approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions? Yes, please.
Can I ask someone to add a new camera, contractual? I'll add it.
Thank you. Anything else? Hearing none, would someone like to approve the amended agenda, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion carried. The next is delegations presentations. We have waste check with Gus. Oh my God, Gus Green and Amy Hillier. I'm so used to just calling him Gus. It was like Gus Waste Check. That's actually what's on my phone. To come forward, and could I have someone make the motion for them to do the presentation, please?
I motion for Gus and Amy to do the presentation for waste check. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Thank you, Madam Warden, and thank you all for giving us a little of your time this evening.
Thank you for coming and staying all afternoon.
This is the calculator I didn't need for our earlier meeting. So we were asked to come tonight to give a presentation we gave for the Waste Check Board back in December. It's a lot of information here. It's essentially trying to cram 25 years of solid waste management into about 20 slides. So feel free to ask questions. And if afterwards you think of something that you'd like to know more about or talk about, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to work for you guys. All right, let's start. So the history of solid waste in Nova Scotia is like the history of solid waste in a lot of places, not very pretty. In the 70s, we had hundreds of disposal sites. In 89, we produced 740 kilograms of garbage per person per year. That's for every man, woman, and child. And as recently as that, in 1996, we still had 20 open burning sites in this province. But in 96, things changed. The province introduced a solid waste strategy, brought in some regulations that did a bunch of things. One of them was it broke the province up into 7 waste management regions. We're region number 7. It banned a lot of things from landfill. Next slide, please. And one of the things that it also did was created the Resource Recovery Fund Board, also known as Divert Nova Scotia, and it introduced and managed the deposit refund system. So that's where you pay a dime when you buy your can of Pepsi, and if you take your can back, you get a nickel. And the purpose of that was to help fund, or one of the purposes was to help fund the municipal programs that were going to come into place. So Divert Nova Scotia actually provides a fair bit of money to the regions of the province for a bunch of different issues. One of them is a regional chairs committee. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more detail later. They're funded to the tune of $43,000 a year. Every region has at least one regional coordinator, so Divert provides about $300,000 per year for that. We receive $42,000 or $43,000 of that. They provide $770 in education funding to the regions. We receive about $39,000. There's $700,000 for enforcement, of which we get $80,000. They contribute $140,000 towards household hazardous waste. The big pot of money is diversion credit funding. That's usually between $4 and $5 million a year. We usually get about a little over 3% of that. Back in our heyday, when we didn't have much waste, we used to get closer to 5%, but our economy is doing much better, and when the economy does well, unfortunately, garbage tends to go up as well. There's also municipal approved programs that used to be an application-based program. Now it's just a pot of money that they divide up the same way they divide up diversion credits. So if we get 3% of the diversion credits, we'll get 3% of the municipal approved program funding. And finally, this last one, dairy stewardship, doesn't have anything to do with Divert Nova Scotia. That's a a stewardship agreement that was negotiated between that regional chairs committee I mentioned and the dairy industry. And it's a really good program. The dairy industry actually pays the full cost of recycling all their milk containers in Nova Scotia. So we get about $33,000 a year from them. So in total, we receive about $400,000 worth of funding from Divert Nova Scotia, and typically our 6 municipal partners put in another $117,000. And that's makes up Waste Check's budget of roughly around $500,000 a year. So it's a big chunk of money that Divert provides, and we're grateful for it. But to put it in perspective, the total cost of solid waste management for municipalities in Nova Scotia last year was about $140 million. So we appreciate the money, but it's a drop in the bucket in the big scheme of things. Next slide, please. So I mentioned that the province is broken up into 7 regions. Each one of those regions has a chair. In our region, where we operate as an actual region, where our 6 municipalities sit around the table, the chair of Waste Check serves as our regional chair. The other regions, they may choose their chair a little differently, but every one of those regions appoints one elected official to serve as their regional chair. And the regional chairs group normally meets about every 6 weeks. Now, obviously, this year has been far from normal, as you all know. But the regional chairs acts as a conduit, a liaison between provincial government and all the municipalities in the province on the issues of solid waste. So we're kind of the go-to people, and when we meet every 6 weeks or so, it's the regional chairs, it's Nova Scotia Environment, it's Divert Nova Scotia, and it's Municipal Affairs sitting around the table. So who is Waste Check? Again, we're your regional solid waste authority. We're your liaison to all those groups. We provide the solid waste expertise, I guess, and we administer all those various programs that I talked about from Divert Nova Scotia. And we're set up as through an intermunicipal agreement between your 6 municipalities. We're the smallest of the region. Again, we're made up of the 6 municipalities in Yarmouth and Digby County. Our population now is around 42,005. And that's what a typical collection day looks like for most of the region. A green cart, two bags, blue bag, one for paper and fiber products, and one for your containers, and then a clear bag for garbage. As I mentioned, we've got 6 municipal units, municipalities of Argyll, Yarmouth, Clare, and Digby, and the towns of Yarmouth and Digby. Each one of those councils appoints 2 people to our board, and those 12 people make up our board of directors, and I report to them. We have a considerable number of facilities throughout our region. Yarmouth County has a solid waste park, there's a transfer station, C&D disposal site, as well as the town of Yarmouth's compost facility is located there as well. Clare has a transfer station, Digby has a transfer station. All of our waste from those 3 transfer stations is shipped to the landfill, second generation landfill of the municipality of Queens. That's part of a 20-year contract that expires in 2027. I mentioned the town of Yarmouth compost facility. All 3 of the transfer sites have household hazardous waste depots. All 3 of those received some funding back in the day under that approved program funding, back when it was an application-based program. And all of our recycling is currently being shipped through those transfer stations to Scotia Recycling in Kidnall. So again, we're located at 303 Forest Street. That's at the airport, the Yarmouth Airport. Our budget, $510,000 a year. I talked about the bulk of that funding comes through Divert, and then there's the municipal contribution. Your municipal contributions are determined using a formula that's based on 50% population and 50% uniform assessment. So your contribution, even if the total amount Waste Check is requesting doesn't change, you'll see small changes in your contribution each year just because of adjustments in uniform assessment, and of course every 5 years by population. So the idea is to try and make things more efficient for you to provide these services. And I think if you look at the array of services that Waste Check provides and the amount of money that you actually have to write a check for, at the end of the year, we think that we provide, or we like to think we provide pretty good value for the money. So again, we've got a clear bag program for garbage that since 2007, actually, we've been doing clear bags. 2 stream, as I mentioned, for recycling, 1 bag for your containers, 1 bag for fiber. Each municipal unit has their own separate hauling contract. I feel obliged through due diligence to mention this every now and then. It's entirely possible that there are some economies of scale that could be achieved if at some point in the future you guys wanted to bid your collection contract as a single unit. But of course there's pros and cons to that. We don't want to put the small business people out of work or anything, but at the same time, we have to be responsible with taxpayers' dollars, so it's just something I have to bring up every couple of years just to make my conscience feel better. And the ICI sector is required to follow the same 4 streams that we have, but obviously they don't use, by and large, municipal collection. They have to arrange their own collection, so they may use a dumpster-based system as opposed to bags, but they have to follow the same rules. So again, we're providing the solid waste expertise, and we do a lot of education for our partners. We do community outreach. We have enforcement and compliance. We have a full-time bylaw enforcement officer at WasteCheck. We do awareness and communication, community beautification, which is a really fancy way of saying remote litter cleanups. And we also do the regional green card delivery and repair, and this is something that's becoming more and more of an issue as time goes on. So some of our examples of education and community outreach, again, in a typical year, which of course 2020 has not been, you would normally find us doing event greening at public events and displays. We do presentations to community groups and in schools, and basically anyone who will let us get up and talk about garbage. We like to go to parades, participate with our mascot there, Mr. Green Bin. We do a lot of business visits, and we also do a lot of curbside education visits as well in a normal year. Enforcement and compliance, legal dump site investigations is a big thing. Again, I mentioned bylaw enforcement. We do follow-up when the haulers reject material. We do follow-ups. We do some curbside inspections on our own. We investigate complaints of the burning of solid waste. In this picture there, that's a transfer station inspection. We do a lot of those too, where we inspect loads coming into a transfer station. We have an app, because you got to have an app these days, but this is actually becoming more and more popular. We're getting more downloads all the time. People like it because you can set it to do a reminder, to text or whatever, to remind you to put the waste out in the morning. We like it because if you sign up for notifications, if for any reason a truck breaks down, or there's a snowstorm, collection gets canceled, we shoot you a notification saying don't put your garbage out. So this is getting more and more popular as more and more people lean on their smartphones for information. Again, community beautification, which is those litter cleanups that we like to promote. We provide bags and gloves and logistical support. And this is a good exercise. It makes people feel, proud of their communities. It makes things look better for the tourists. It's good all the way around. And the green cart I mentioned, it's working great. We're diverting a lot of organic material. We're getting better quality than we used to. But the big thing here is that our initial green cart rollout was back in 1999. So was that 23 years ago? A green cart has a life expectancy of about 10 years. So more and more we're replacing these green carts through attrition. We're replacing anywhere from 700 to 1,200 carts per year. And this will continue until they're all replaced. By the time they're all replaced, we'll be starting over again. So this takes up more and more of WasteCheck's time than it ever did before. But it's one of the things that we do for you, you guys, as one of our municipal units. It's done on a cost recovery basis. We don't make any money on it. It's whatever it costs to purchase the carts. That's what we sell them back to the municipalities for. So, all about the social media now. Facebook and the Instagram, particularly in 2020, but it was a move that I guess everyone's making anyway. We started originally shifting away from other traditional advertising methods due to cost concerns, but social media seems to be working very well. We find our residents are quite engaged, and also most of our municipalities are quite engaged. We share their posts, they share ours, and that seems to really reach a lot of people as well. We've done a lot of work with the compost facility in Yarmouth. They had a lot of trouble with plastic material in the green cart. We work closely with them and also their social media people. We've really contacted a lot of the retailers as well. Really about trying to keep biodegradable plastic bags, any other plastic for that matter, out of the green cart, and it's actually been quite successful. We hope it stays that way. We still occasionally encounter retailers who refuse to take those products off their shelves, and when we do, that's all we can do, is we've advised them that, you may get an irate customer if they buy this product and their green cart gets rejected, but we can't force them to take it off.
Is there many, do they usually cooperate? Or?
By and large, the vast majority are cooperative. Occasionally, some are not. Now, the town of Yarmouth themselves actually passed a bylaw banning the sale of these compostable products, and that seems to work quite well within the town's limits. But we still occasionally run into retailers who are less cooperative. Again, I mentioned some provincial programs. There's the used tire program funded by DIVERT. When you buy tires, you pay a fee, and then when you're done with your tires, you can take them back to any place that sells tires for at a time, and they'll take them off your hands for no charge. The beverage container program, of course, is the big one that funds most of our other programs. There's a paint recycling program that DIVERT's also involved in. There's a used motor oil program by how do you pronounce that? UOMA Atlantic, which is an industry association. There's an electronic stewardship program through EPR in Nova Scotia. There's the Call to Recycling, which recycles batteries and cell phones. And there's also a Safe Sharps program for residents that's funded by the Pharmacy Association of Nova Scotia. All right. Who's ready for the test?
Questions?
Questions?
I'd just like to say that.
David,
Sorry.
There used to be a program, roadside cleanup assistant for community groups. Any chance of that coming back?
Are you referring to municipal ones? Oh, Waste Check.
Yeah.
We did have one funded through our budget at one time. Yeah, a few years ago. And again, because of budget constraints, we had to let it go. Then some of the municipal units took them on themselves. You guys did last year, had one. Municipality of Argyle does as well. I think it's just
Claire.
Oh, and Claire. So they fund them through their own municipal budgets. Usually they ask Waste Check to administer them for them, but we don't have it in our budget at this time. But they're great programs, and they really help volunteer groups too.
Don't we have a budget for that? They
Yes,
said
we do.
3,000, but we didn't have anything.
We've had a couple this year, actually.
See, it made a lot of difference last year about anybody doing a lot of things. Okay, so you had a question, David?
I just wanted to say how easy it is to deal with Waste Check, and through the years I've had illegal dumps and everything, and I just want to tell a quick story. This lady, somebody called, and it was used disposable diapers that they had been dumping illegally, and they found a receipt with her name on it, and they said either she has to pay $500 for a fine or come clean it out. Well, about 20-30 different Westporters got in their vehicles to drive by and watch. Everybody was thrilled. I got so many people called on her. Oh my goodness. Just want to tell that story. And also between our own hauler and you have never ever had a problem with garbage, and that's like the major thing really for municipal councillors. So I've been very happy with the service both out there.
That's good to hear. And our bylaw officer is amazingly creative and inventive when it comes to getting people to clean up their own messes.
Oh, we were really happy. Everybody really liked it.
Matthew, do you have any questions?
Yeah, just to say, echo what David's saying. Anytime I've ever had to call, you guys are great. You lead me down the right path. Very helpful. Richie, yeah, he does a fantastic job. Anytime I've had to call him, he's been very helpful. He's helped me a lot. So yeah, very very happy.
Good.
We'll pass that on begrudgingly because you'll never let me forget it. We'll pass it on.
Hey, great.
Angela?
I have nothing.
Okay, can you just mention a little bit about what I get wrong, EPR?
Extended producer responsibility. You got it right this time.
I remember what she told me, P before R.
Extended producer responsibility is really it's a program whereby responsibility for a product is continued on beyond the time you leave the store. And again, we're talking about printed and paper and packaging materials. Like, for example, right now I go to the store and I buy a pack of my favorite Kraft dinner. Once I walk out of the store, Kraft is no longer responsible for that box. I take it home and I put it out at the curb, and you guys have to pay to have it picked up and collected and processed and marketed, and all that cost falls to municipal taxpayers. But the reality is that 80% of the population of Canada lives in jurisdictions that have EPR. It's really just Alberta and Atlantic Canada that do not. And the way, in those provinces, that responsibility falls to industry, not to municipalities, to pay those costs. And the way they fund it is they put a little tiny fee on every package they sell, which is a little bit insulting because it means that all of us here in Nova Scotia, we're paying twice. When we buy our products, we pay that fee, and then we take it home and we have to put it out at the curbside, and our municipalities have to pay for it again to actually do the work. And industry is quite content for us to go ahead and have EPR. Their only request is that, well, when you do it, please make it harmonious with other provinces so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. But other than that, they really don't care. The stumbling block we have is our provincial government does not want to move forward on EPR. That regional chairs group I mentioned earlier, 2017, the Minister of Environment wrote them a letter and said, if you guys want EPR, you guys have to do the work, and you have to lay out a framework of what EPR should look like in Nova Scotia. And it listed off about 12 bullets of all the things the minister wanted. So we started working. It took us 2 years to do it, but we did it. We wrote a template and we submitted it to the government, and it's online. If you email me, I can send you a link where to find the document online. And we're still waiting for the government to do something with it. Now, the political reality is we have an environment minister who's not reoffering. We have a premier who's stepped down. So nothing's going to happen tomorrow, unfortunately. But really, the stumbling block has been government. And the reason that government has been the stumbling block is since the early days when we started talking about EPR, the Federation of Independent Business got up on a soapbox and said, oh my God, this is death to small business. You can't do this. This is terrible. And our government believed them. And it's taken us a very long time to change people's minds about that. But the reality is that EPR has no impact on small business. And I'll give you some examples from the template that we wrote. There are multiple protections in the document for protecting small business. The first one is what we call the de minimis clause. What that means, and this is what we've recommended to government, what actually happens we don't know, but what we've recommended, and this is based on other systems in the country, is if your business has less than $2 million in sales, you're automatically out of it. You don't have to contribute at all. The second protection is what we call a single storefront exemption. So if you have one business and you're not a franchise or whatever, then you can make $50 million and you're out if you just have the one location. You get into 2 or 3 locations, that's a different thing. Third exemption for small businesses, if you produce less than 1 ton per year of the materials that go in the blue bag, well then you're out again. So there are 3 different protections built in for small business. And even if you have a small business and you make $2 million and $1, well, you're in, but it's really not going to have a big impact on you. You know, in most of the other systems in Canada, if you fall between $2 million and $5 million a year, then you pay a flat fee of a few $100s a year because you're affected. And the final example I'll give is in British Columbia, and British Columbia is the system that we modeled our template after closest. There are over 400,000 small businesses in total in British Columbia. At the end of the day, after the EPR was brought in, there were just over 1,200 of those 400,000 that were affected. 0.33% of the business was affected. EPR really just tackles huge industry, big retailers. It's the Unilevers and the Johnson & Johnsons. It's the Walmarts and the Canadian Tires. It has no impact on small business.
What's EPR stand for again?
Extended Producer Responsibility.
And we have separate presentations.
And there's a whole other presentation on that if you want to bring us back up on that.
I just wanted to say it has been laying on the Department of Environment, our minister's table for 2 years. And I just think it's awful because we've been trying to get it now since 2017. Yeah.
Well, we were
Even
looking for it for a
before
long
that.
time before that.
Actually, before that, yeah. But I'm saying it's been at the head, and it's just a sad thing. And yes, if we decide we'd like to have a full presentation on this, Gus and Amy are certainly willing to come, or whether they do it by Zoom or come in, that would be their choices. But I just wanted to make sure that I think as a council or as counselors, you need to be aware of this program and what's happening or not happening.
What was the big heated argument between Leland and the industry up at NSFN that time? There was something going on there about EPR. Remember that, Jeff?
So I think
Oh,
that
Jeff,
was
go ahead.
politically, provincially, it was, so at the time, Leland Anthony was the chair of Waste Check, so he was on regional chairs with Gus and put together that work, and that was, that timing would line up with when that first went into the provincial government. And so that was just some of the frustrations on the inability to move this forward. So this, I don't want to put numbers in your mouth, Gus, but this would be either, depending on the model, direct money right to municipalities or money directly that we wouldn't have to spend.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I would say win-win-win is kind of, and I think this is going back, like I said, Gus said 10 years. I think 2015 or so, we were real close to an environment minister passing it.
Yeah.
We had it for about 24 hours.
Really close. And it did, so some of the people involved just feel very passionately about the file, and the dollars are so, to the industry, the dollars aren't big, but to the municipal units, it would change solid waste a lot. So that's.
Is it still on our top, is it in our top 5 with NSFN?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Over the last years, UNICEF has gotten really serious with pushing for EPR
Yeah.
because they've seen it. And I think part of we're going back a couple of years here now. There was a lot of misinformation, and even some of the municipalities didn't really understand how EPR was going to impact them.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up. You're right, because I don't really understand it. I remember the debate.
So would you like us to look
Well,
at
yeah, later on, I don't.
How does every
It's
other
something
councillor
that's
feel?
on the NSFM agenda now.
Yeah, for sure.
To know more
Also,
about it.
I was going to mention,
So Jeff?
Yep, I'll reach out. We'll work on
Well,
it.
you know, we're probably not to March, April, guys, at least, just because of all the things that are going on.
Presentation is done. I've given it twice. We can go again. No, it's good information. And as Jeff alluded to, there's a couple of things for the municipalities. It's actual cash in your hand. You would receive checks. But there's also the avoided cost. Right now, you get a bill every month or every quarter from Scotia Recycling that you have to pay. And you wouldn't be paying that bill anymore because it would be industry's responsibility. Also, you're paying your hauler to collect your recyclable material. You'd get a check from industry to offset that portion of your hauling contract. Additionally, they provide money for education. So a portion of the services that WasteCheck providing, they would pay for it instead of the municipal unit. So, I mean, it's just win-win-win.
yeah, them instead of the taxpayer in general.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, you can pay for your own stuff. I think it's
money that they're already collecting from the consumers in
Well,
Nova
I
Scotia.
remember that being said in the double, and I wanted to, I'd like to learn more.
Yeah, if you could, your craft dinner example, I can't remember the decimals on if your craft dinner costs $1.69, what's your?
The deposit is literally in fractions of a penny. Right? So it makes no difference to craft, but when you sell 5 million of them in Nova Scotia, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Because they're making money off of it,
Oh, yeah,
and they don't have to use
part
it.
of their business model is to pass those costs on to the taxpayer.
That's
Well,
right.
see, the bottom line is, it's there,
Pass
because
on
they
the
do it
consumer.
in all the other provinces.
I once read a talk about the very earliest days of littering. The very first one, big litter issue, was bananas. But after that, in the 50s, littering, the disposal culture started, and a lot of people were blaming the companies themselves, and that's when the initial big anti-littering campaigns came out, because it put all the onus on the consumer and none of the onus on the people who were making the garbage. And it was highly successful, and it turned, pushed the idea that the companies would deal with their own waste back, decades, half a century, I guess. Now here we are talking about something that should have happened back in the 50s when they first were talking about these sorts of things.
And of course, one of the big benefits of the deposit refund system when they brought that in is you never see a Coke can or a beer bottle on the side of the road anymore. You see people walking around picking them up.
Yeah, you do, and it's the people who need the money the most who are doing that.
And we fought with at least a half a dozen different Minister of Environment trying to get them to put a deposit on beverage cups from McDonald's and Tim Hortons, just a penny or two. It'll be enough that people will go pick them up. We've never had any success, but we keep trying. We're fatally optimistic, I guess.
I'll mention this too to the NDP leader who's coming here tomorrow. That's sort of a thing that you would mention, just for, I got a little list of provincial type things that I'm not too thrilled with. So, not that we know.
Well, we can just put it on the agenda and speak of it. Okay. All right, is there any other questions, comments? I really appreciate you both coming. They did it in person because we had a meeting this afternoon, which we thought would take a lot longer, so they had the fun
Calculated need.
looking around Digby today.
We supported local business.
Right on.
Thank you all very much for
Did
having us.
you find what you were looking for your daughter?
Good night.
Thank you. Drive careful.
We will. Thanks again.
Okay, now we will continue. The next is the approval of the minutes of November the 23rd. Is there any errors or admissions?
Look at me, I'll move approval.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next is the unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business from the minutes of November the 23rd?
I didn't know. I don't recall.
If there is none, we will go on. The CAO report with meeting reminders. Just remember, February 1st is TIR followed by the bylaw.
I even emailed Tyler a picture this morning because I was going to show them. I just completely out to lunch.
That's all right, it's coming.
And we
More
are
so than
providing
usual.
a meal for that one, the TIA.
Yeah.
We'll be able to eat there.
The February the 8th is Committee of the Whole. February the 10th is the PAC, which is myself, Randy Warden, Ross, and Councillor Tudor. February 15th, remember it's Heritage Day, and there is no meeting. February 22nd is Council. March 1st at 5, these are all at 5, Bylaw and Policy, and again, March 8th is Committee of the Whole. Anybody have any concerns on those dates?
Looking good to me.
All right. Now, action item, on the back was our capital projects. Was there any concerns for anything or questions of the CAO report?
Happy?
Matthew? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
The transit bus, any update on?
Go right ahead.
So that's what I was raising my hand to give an update on. So as I was doing the report, so I think most of you are aware, we've talked about there's an second interim manager at King's Transit. So he's had a chance to get his feet under him. So I sent a message and got, I think, an update that surprised me. So I think they're hoping for late spring, early summer. The end of May is when they're hoping this year, like
To have
2021,
somebody in the position?
to have the new bus. So
Good.
I had assumed COVID would have bumped that back further,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's very exciting news. Hopefully that comes through. So that
Is
will-
the old bus still breaking down a normal amount, or has it been holding on till we get the new one so far?
I think the old one, it continues to survive. It's had some continued to have repairs as we put more kilometers on it than is fair to put on something that old. But I think I saw Saturday it's running the route now. So
Right on.
Now, the other bus was in the accident.
Yeah.
The deer.
For the deer.
With the deer, a year, 2 months ago
Oh,
now?
geez, I didn't hear that.
A month ago.
Month
I've seen a report in.
Yeah, we just had a report.
Saturday.
Well, anyway,
Yeah, that
and it actually even moved the underneath, what do you call the
the
underneath?
frame.
The frame, thank you.
So insurance is giving us a whole new bus.
No.
Aha! We're not going to buy a new one. Just give us the money.
We had been waiting on the insurance of what they are going to do. They have been in, they've inspected, so they're versus the cost of fixing versus, paying. This is personal. I was up to see the bus, and I don't think it's worth fixing, personally. But I am not the adjuster. The mechanic and the head mechanic were both there showing me. I wasn't allowed to get under the bus.
They stopped you, did they?
No, because I was required to have on steel boots. I had a hat on, but because I could only stand so far back and they had to show me.
Yeah.
But he said, had I had on the requirements, he could have taken me like under this
Okay.
thing, you know, the
Lifter.
whatever it is.
Whatever it's called.
No, lift. You slide under. They could have showed me more, but they did a great job on what they did show me. The other thing, and maybe this is sort of, they had just removed the bicycle thing, the bicycles on, and they are glad they did because it could have been a very different thing with the deer hitting, because then it could have gone right through it gets smashed. You can't believe how much it smashed and what it did.
So it hit the rack, and so the damage
No,
is
had the
mitigated?
rack been there, they figure it would have gone up and gone this way
Okay.
instead of staying
So
down
we locked
here,
that-
where nobody was hurt.
Ooh.
You know? So we have had to have use of a bus in case something happens. Like ours still has to go up for oil changes and things.
Yeah.
But we're trying to work everything out. Rick Ramsey is the interim manager, and he's excellent. Wished he was staying, but
It's got a good name.
Are they in the process of putting out notices for?
that is the board, and they're-
Are they gonna do that, have they done it, or are they going to?
No. I was just trying to explain. That is the board, and all we know as the partners is they are working with the CAOs to make sure that they get what they want. So we were going to have a meeting on Friday, but it was stormed out up there, so I can't really say a lot right yet. But yes, they do want to hire, but Rick is hired until they find someone. It was not 2 months or 3 months, it's till we
Totally fine.
hire someone.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Good questions? Okay. Anything else on the capital? Then the next that you saw in your package was the update was the financial report. So if you have looked them over, and do you have any questions? If no questions, could I have approval of the November payables in the amount of $1,120,481.60.
So moved.
Well seconded.
All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carries. We also need approval for the December payables in the amount of $415,572.62.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next is the income and expense report, November and December. Does anyone have any questions? If not, we will go on. The next is the standing committee report. Bylaw and policy. So our first thing is on the policy 4000-04, citizen appointment policy that has been updated. Is there any questions or concerns with the citizen appointment policy?
No, I'm prepared to move the amendments to 4000-04, citizen appointment policy be approved.
I'll second it. Is
there any discussion? I thought it was very well done. You took out the wills to shoulds and things like that. I thought it was great. So, I don't know who did it, but good job. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary
Good
minded,
job,
motion carried. The next is the WCB for volunteer service firefighters, and I believe there are two.
There was
Okay,
two totals for mine.
do we, Jeff, do we have to put it in, this motion is one, but about sending a letter to the fire departments? Because it's not there in that motion.
That was.
It would be a different motion, right?
Yes.
So we'll do the first motion first, followed by a second motion.
I
Okay.
move that Municipality fund the WCB for volunteer firefighters out of the regular operating revenue.
Is there a seconder? Is there any questions or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
I move
The
that.
next-
Oh, sorry, I was just going to quickly move the volunteer.
Okay, that a letter be sent to all volunteer departments and the fire association that we will be paying for the WBC from our regular operating revenue.
I'll second that. Or I move it. I mean, oops.
I'll second it.
Is there any questions?
No.
Concerns?
I have one question. Did we? I can't remember if we decided to put that we are doing the workers' compensation board for the fire department. We were going to put that in not that our passages up here. What do they call it? Coastline. Yeah. I just thought that might be a good thing to put in the coastline. I can't remember if we discussed it or not.
I don't remember it being discussed.
I feel like I was going to suggest it, and I can't remember if I ever
We
suggested
can put it on the agenda for that?
it. Okay.
Good idea, David.
I just thought that would be a good one to let people
Yep.
know.
So all in favor?
It would also be a way to say, hey, why don't you join the fire department? Because I've been trying to push people like that.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next was a request from the Digby Skating Club, and it was recommended to us from our bylaw and policy that we approve the $500 request to the Digby Skating Club. Do we have a mover?
I motion to approve the funding request of $500 to the Digby Skating Club.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Again, there was a funding request which was discussed at the bylaw and policy for $3,000 for the foster for cats. Do we have a mover?
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Move what, David?
Oh, the foster for cats funding request for $3,000.
Thank you. Sorry.
That's all right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next was the approval of the funding request for $3,000 for the Hillsborough Water Society from our policy meeting.
I motion to approve the funding request of $3,000 for the Hillsborough Water Society.
Is there a seconder?
Second that.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next was a funding request for the village of Freeport in the amount of $1,000. Do we have,
Approval or approved funding request for $1,000 for the village of Freeport?
is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
Any concerns or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next was the approval request for $2,000 for the FCDA in Freeport.
I'll move $2,000.
I'll second
For what, guys? For what?
For the Seaside Ocean Park.
it. For the FCD.
Oh, the SCDA. Oh, sorry, for the
FCD.
yeah, SCDA.
Yeah, but I thought you wanted.
That's all we need. That's all we need. George, I deserve that. I needed it. Thank you, George. There. What George said.
It was moved by David, seconded by George. Any questions or concerns?
As I just
1:35, I
Yeah.
think you need help.
Yeah,
All
I
in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Oh, mama. Next, under Committee of the Whole, we have the letter of support from Razo Energy. Any one of people?
I support that we write a letter of support for Bezos Industry. I move that we write a letter of support.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
Now, is there questions, concerns? Dave,
When we talked about this during that committee, of the whole
Yeah.
was yourself or somebody from council or whatever kind of contact and make sure they had contacted the fishermen and.
they are doing that. They're in the
They are doing
process.
it. It's in the process. Okay.
Yeah, they're in the oh no, they're not doing anything till
No,
they're
no, but I thought we had talked
Good
about
idea.
doing that ahead of time and.
Any other questions, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The Admiral Digby funding request for the amount of $500, wasn't it?
Yes. So move support of the Admiral Digby Thunder request for $500.
Okay, is there a seconder?
Second that.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next, from the Committee of the Whole, it was recommended that we write a letter to the Department of Municipal Affairs regarding the CSAP election.
I move that we write a letter to municipal affairs asking that the CSAP elections be separate from municipal elections.
I'll second that.
Any questions, concerns? All in favor?
Aye. That's a good one.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next is the agreement with Bell Canada regarding internet, and it's behind you.
Motion the municipality of Digby enters into an agreement with Bell Canada to install fiber internet connections to 644 addresses for a total cost of $259,502.86.
I'll second that.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried.
Just start tomorrow?
Y'all be done by 5 o'clock.
Better. Fair.
Why, Mama?
Hope they got
Why
their-
me?
I hope they got their headlamps on and they can work all night.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. Now, the first, we have business items, and the first one is, we marked it under long-term care. A letter came to me and council on behalf, are we allowed to give the person's name? On behalf of a resident in the municipality of Digby.
Yep.
On concerns that people are not getting enough time being with other people, being, entertainment, whatever. They're alone. There's concerns.
It's a lack of supports and mental health is a particular concern. And I'm just wondering if the province is the pressure, if we can write maybe a letter to pressure the province to maybe put more funding or try to deal with this serious issue.
George?
I was talking to Deborah maybe before this letter came out, but Mr. Jennings had called me, so I was, and she didn't deny any of the stuff that he said about his mom not getting enough mental stimulation, but she said on the other end that they just don't have the money for it. They have money for COVID protocols and stuff, and for cleaning and all that stuff, to hire people for COVID stuff, but not anybody to take up the slack for making sure that they get mentally stimulated enough. The workers that were doing that stuff, a lot of community people were coming in and doing community events, and family members were coming in and taking up some of that time. But seeing that all that stuff has been canceled, then who fills in that gap? And they just don't have anybody to fill in that gap unless they have extra money for it, and they just don't have the extra money, so it goes by the wayside.
I feel like this is something we could push for sure. I'd like to push
Again, this could be on our meeting tomorrow with Gary Burrow, the concern of lack of.
Yeah, that's a good one, yeah.
I would think, David, and I believe I'm hearing sort of George saying, writing a letter.
Yeah.
I think it never hurts, and we need to send it to
The leaders of the
Department of Health, long-term care, and
Leader of the opposition.
Leader of the
Government.
opposition, and of course the NDP.
Yep.
As well as, I don't know who the.
Maybe send it to the 3 people that are.
And our MLA in our area, because you want him kept abreast of what's happening.
This would be a good one to pressure Gordon on for sure. I feel like Gordon would have his ears open for this.
Again, Matthew.
I like those ideas, but however, in the short term, George, is there a way? I know I talked to the same resident too, and we had talked about some small interactions would help. I know that Tideview, I've talked to Deborah too, the restraints of who can and cannot be in the building. So it's not a matter of, can you get a bunch of volunteers to come in? They can't come in. You barely get family in there now. But there are people in there that work. Some of the things he mentioned was just to sit down and crossword puzzles or do a puzzle, like little things like that. Is there something you can take to the board as a business item or something to kind of brainstorm, little things that they can do? I know,
like an entertainment package or something.
And I'm not telling them how to do their job, and it's just something in there that maybe they could make an hour each day that the workers could go out and maybe just say, hey, how you doing? I don't know.
I don't know either. Not being there, it's hard to say. I would
So downtime,
I hope that they're doing whatever they can, and I don't think they have a lot of free time to.
Yeah, they don't have the
do that.
staffs. Yeah, they
But
need
isn't
one recreation person for 2 or 3 homes, and like there's not a lot of
But to
one-on-one.
make sure maybe that the TVs are on. Like I know when my grandmother was in there, a lot of the times the TV was like, maybe turn the TV on the day and have some music, the music station or something. I don't know. Just to get them to come out of the room and they're shouting to come out. Maybe they'll interact a little. Some of those
The
things.
music idea is a good one, I think.
But sometimes they have to be brought out of their rooms.
Mhm.
The other thing is, I
all
hope that
staff.
recreation is no longer having to do cleaning and all that type, that they are allowed now to, and that's, I think, a board question, that recreation is only doing
They turn into a
recreation
prison.
instead of the other jobs that they were asked to do.
And before you could bring a couple of homes together and have now you can't.
No, I know that, but just the ones that are working
But
in
even if they
I don't know.
had something in each house,
The music or a
Yeah.
policy to
something,
the TV.
I
Those are
agree.
just simple little.
Whether they're all sitting around and
Because
you're
it's
right.
nothing to go turn the TV on, maybe wheel a few that enjoy that, and then go back to doing. I don't know. It's just,
well, it'd be more, you want more stimulation talking.
yeah. Get the,
But have a tea time.
Yeah.
Bring everyone out and have a cup of tea and let the recreation director be there and say, guys, let's do a little sing-along. Or
We have a meeting on Wednesday. I will bring it up and see.
Yeah, something to mitigate it for the time being. It's too bad the government's not recognizing the mental aspect as opposed to just purely the physical and the cleanliness. It seems to me it's just as obvious. But of course, mental health is expensive and
Well, I
nobody
feel
wants to
that
spend
my
money.
letter's just going to not really solve this issue.
Not that fast.
Not fast.
No,
it's just,
but at
If
least
you needed somebody on the boots on the ground.
Yeah, definitely fair.
So who should the initial letter go to? I suppose long-term care?
Yeah, I
The
think
Minister of Long-Term Care first?
I think minister and then copy everyone.
Yeah, the Minister of Health and everyone. Okay, so David, or George, are you making this a motion?
I will, yeah. We write a letter to the various people that we had mentioned about, like home care, Department of Health, minister, our local MLA, leaders of the opposition party and the NDP.
I'll second that.
Requesting more funding for
An emergency funding would be what you would request.
long-term care homes for recreation.
For mental stimulus.
I think we should go straight out and say emergency. It's a critical issue at the moment.
Yeah.
It is critical.
Yeah. It's sad.
I'll second that.
Okay, any questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next is the foghorns. Now, in May of
Mhm.
of 20, this council has sent a letter on the concerns from the foghorn issue. And now there's a concern that they still do it.
They're ignoring it, and I might point out this list isn't much of a list. It's like the lights are slightly more shiny, you know. The radar reflector, when they're not getting the fog and how we can get out there, and they're also not catching the idea of the low-income people who make use of the bay, like for example the periwinklers. They don't have radar and that stuff. They listen off. They look at the tide, withdraw the water, and they listen and look. So for them, it's just ignoring an entire class of boater that we have around here, and it's not going to make no difference if Centerville Fairway is brighter to Gary Grotto when he's off to pick periwinkles.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to mention that there's young people too that play around in the harbors. So maybe they shouldn't, but we have for decades. My brother was hauled 3 times. The Coast Guard had to get him out of the Bay of Fundy. And he's like 12, 13. We wouldn't let him eventually, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, this is just a list of regular maintenance, really, and they're putting new light bulbs up. It doesn't make, for me, I don't see how that's going to cut it, and I'm just wondering what sort of argument that I should take. I wouldn't mind. It said that they spoke to the harbor authorities. I can guarantee you all 3 harbor authorities wanted them. So that since the letter, is saying that they discussed with the users of harbor authorities in the area, well, from what I understand, it's universal that they want it there. They want to keep it there. And I also noticed today that Laura McDormand has done up petitions in the 3 villages, so she's pushing as well. I'm hoping that we'll be able to get the MP on board with this. Out of Yarmouth, this is sort of a federal jurisdiction, and I feel like his support would be helpful.
We can ask for a Zoom meeting to discuss this topic.
Yeah, I would like that, and I could also prepare some stuff. Of course, you'll let me know beforehand. I'll go talk to some of the harbor authority people and talk to the periwinklers. Maybe write down some stuff to put a little more meat in the bones to the conversation.
So, what it would be today would then we would request to have a Zoom meeting with our MP to discuss this issue.
So moved. I'll move that.
So you guys just want to
talk to the MP.
It can be all council, or it can just be David and I.
Well, let's do me and her. Yeah.
Okay.
Make it easier for you. Yeah. Also, I'm wondering if we should also send a notice to the whoever. What was the address? What was the name of this organization? Department of Canadian Coast Guard. Maybe send a letter to them saying that we are still going to argue. Send them a letter giving them notice that we're going to fight this decision, and we are going to go to the MP.
What I don't understand is this is coming from Canadian Coast Guard, but the Coast Guard in Fair Island doesn't have a problem with it.
No, this is the Canadian Coast Guard, like in Ottawa. This is like head office.
What's the Coast Guard saying in Fair Island?
So actually, David, what you would like us to do is to send a letter of concern.
Yes. Sounds good.
Okay, to Sharon Zellers under the supervision.
Aids in Navigation Waterways.
Yes.
Are the, like Matthew said, the Coast Guard cutters and stuff, that search and rescue, are they allowed to have any opinion?
I don't think so. I don't think they'd get themselves in trouble for that.
Okay. Yeah.
They would be allowed.
They've given me opinions on things in the past, but they've said, you can't tell anyone I think this.
Okay.
It's like healthcare. You can't come out and say, guys, you really need this in there.
Yeah, it's they want to get rid of all of them, but they're nice and loud. The ones they got going now, I can hear them. I had one person complain about how loud the new ones were, and I was like, good. It won't be enough time before we can't hear them anyway.
So send a letter, was there a seconder to that motion? Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next is St. Mary's Bay Protector letter. A letter was sent to me. I think everyone had it in their package. What would you like done? Most of it is federal and provincial, which I can certainly respond to.
Yeah, refer them to the
provincial government.
to the proper
To the proper authorities.
Yeah.
Well, to
To their answer.
fisheries people.
So can I get a motion then?
I motion to request to send this letter to the provincial government. Or the.
No, they would have to do that.
Yes.
For us to send a response.
A response to, yes, a response back to the St. Mary's Bay Protectors letter.
Okay, is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Any discussion or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next is from Cook's Aquaculture, and they're asking us to send a letter of support for their land-based aquaculture hatchery, which would keep the fish 3 months longer out of the water if it happens, and it goes all over the different provinces.
I'd just like to make
Okay,
a statement on this. Can we wait till after we hear from the St. Mary's Bay Protectors? I don't really have a problem with that motion, but they would like to speak to us before we write the letter for support for Cook's Aquaculture. They asked me to pass that on. Quite often, too, when we get a letter of request, there's usually we don't make the decision that night. So I thought that maybe we could put off making a motion on this just till after next week's committee of the whole. What is it next week?
Go ahead, Jeff.
So we do have an official request from the St. Mary's Bay Protectors to present at the February 8th committee of the whole. Sorry, that's the meeting, and there is a request for that. That was all I had.
I will tell you, we've had letters from both people. One from St. Mary's Bay Protectors that we already received. What does council feel?
I'll be happy. Usually we don't make the decision on the night, so
Yes, this is different, David. This came into our package.
Yeah.
It's not the same as them doing a presentation here and asking from the presentation.
Yeah, it's already been announced by the province. I motion to send a letter of support for Cook's Agriculture.
Is there a seconder? Is there a seconder? Last and final time. Is there a seconder? George?
With regard to that, myself, I would personally like to wait until they make their presentation. I have no problem in writing and having a letter sent to Cooks and whatever, but, I guess just how it's perceived or whatever, that we're not listening to. I would like to hear what they have to say.
Perhaps we need to rescind our previous motion to answer their letter until after their presentation.
Yeah.
I'm not saying not to send it, but perhaps we need to wait after that as well.
Perhaps, I just would like to wait until they do their presentation, then I personally have no problem supporting Cook's Aquaculture and writing a letter off. I just would like to do them in a certain order.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Okay, Matthew.
I guess my thoughts are, what's there to present? It's a land-based aquaculture, and that's what they wanted. Everything's been passed by the province environmentally. It's not our jurisdiction. Cooks is asking for a letter of support. They're a company that's worked side by side with our fishing community for the last 20 years. They have industry here. They've never proven that they've environmentally made a disaster in this county. I've heard the other side in their presentations on other places in the world, which I really can't vote on because I'm in Digby County. And I haven't seen any issues with cooks. And I fully support it. It's jobs in our community. You know where I stand from the last time. This is land-based, and
I'm in full
I don't
support of it
know why
too.
we have to prolong it.
I'm in full
Then
support
the
of
next
it.
presentation will be, well, can you give us 3 more months to, it's kind of like the Barton School thing, it just keeps evolving into, can we have 3 more months' time? Maybe we should wait for the government to come back with these questions, and then where does it end up?
Okay, Jeff?
So the one thing I will say, that this is, it's all council's discretion, whether it's now or on February 8th, the deadline for comments to the provincial government, which is where our letter of support, if it was to be issued or is to be issued, is February 12th. So that's...
And it's we're talking on February 8th, so we have time.
Yes. So
Okay.
that is the...
I was worried for a second.
I think it's 30 days or 31 days from when the province made that announcement, I think is how that works, why that's the deadline. So from when that was announced in
So that's
January.
definitely the deadline is the 12th, not before.
Yep, definitely the 12th is the deadline. I'm reading it right on the...
Okay.
I'm just thinking the community wants to be heard, and we can wait 2 weeks and then proceed. I feel.
You mean an interest group?
Yeah, an interest group. Yeah, representing the community. Yeah, we get a bunch of them.
So, Angela,
I just said it says in here, you get until the 12th of February at 11:59 p.m.
no, what is your comment of, we've had 2 people want to make motions. What is your comment? That's what I'm asking.
Actually, yeah, I think the letter of support, I guess I'm okay with it. I did have some concerns about the letter from Wayne's group, but I did realize after I read it over that it was more provincial regulations that that concerned me. But yeah, I don't really have an issue with the letter of support.
So if the community wants to be heard, like you said, issue group, but we can wait 2 weeks, and it's still within the line, and then everybody can be happy.
Again, I'd like to have a motion on.
I'll make a motion again. I motion to send the letter of support to Cook's Agriculture.
Can you do that? He just made the same
No.
motion that didn't get.
It didn't.
So I'll make a
Okay.
motion then. I make a motion to wait until to discuss this make a decision on the 8th. Would that be I guess we'll hear from I make a motion that we hear from the St. Mary's Bay protectors and we make a decision on February 8th. Or no, you can't do that.
No, you're making a motion that we delay.
I just want to assure
You're
Matthew.
making a motion that you want to delay the letter of support to Cook's Aquaculture
Until
to February the 8th. is
yes,
what you're saying.
yes, there. That's. I just wanted to assure Matthew that I'm not trying to push anything past any deadlines. I just want to.
Is there a seconder for the motion?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Nay.
I'm sorry, but I've got to hear
Gotta go ayes first.
ayes first. 2 ayes so far.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Nays?
Nay.
Nay. Meeting passed with.
Sorry, that would be delaying the decision on the letter to February,
Right.
just for correct wording.
Yes. Is to delay the letter of support. Okay.
Madam Board. So once we hear this presentation on the 8th,
Mhm.
then can we at the same meeting approve a letter to go off to Cook?
If that's-
Because it has to be by the 12th, right?
Yeah.
We can't do it and then wait till the next week?
No.
Make a motion.
No.
If you decide as council that we are going to support this, then you would make that motion that night. Okay? Okay. The next is correspondence from Minister Perry. He is just telling us that we are that the same thing that we were told last week.
One-year extension,
from Tyler that we're doing the 1 week, but this was the official, and I felt you should get it.
Oh.
So it's just the 1 year.
Oh, I thought this was something to do
Additional
with
1 year
the
for
police.
accessory.
I got mixed up.
But it was, Tyler told us last week, but the letter came in, so it needed to be here. Okay, so it's for information. The next is Engage Nova Scotia, Me to You. And as you saw that come out, they would like us, if we would look at possibly doing a few things, like promote the initiatives, send note cards, whatever. I was wondering, why couldn't we put this in the coastline? And you know what would be nice? Maybe to take over a few notes to Tyview to residents. Don't put names on them, but give them a card.
Maybe that'd be something nice to do at the school.
Well, anybody. It's for everybody.
That would maybe help mitigate some of the things we were talking, a nice little letter from the kids or something.
Well, and so it's like, so they're asking us if we would be willing to share, and I'm saying, would we be willing to share? Would we be willing to put it in the coastline? Would we be willing, like you want to bring it to the school? It's something that, I know a couple of teachers as well. It might be, because it's just saying, to show that thoughtfulness can, have you ever been given something by someone and it's just a little thank you and you feel so darn good about it?
Yeah. It's awesome. I'm in charge of nice notes. I'm in favor of nice notes for the album. Let's do it.
So, but I need to hear from you guys, from the council.
I agree. I don't think we need a motion for that, do we?
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay. I move that we share the, what's it called?
Me
to You.
Yeah.
Information pamphlet.
Well, in any way we can.
In any way we can.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay. Can it be put in coastline?
Yes,
Okay.
potentially not this issue.
Oh, no, but it's still going to be ongoing. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried.
I was hoping that Minister Fury thing, for some reason I got in my head that it was our police officer. Didn't they did that?
He was a police officer. He's also justice.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, okay.
Trying to remember.
Now, the next is advisory committee minutes and reports. There was one back in October from the PAC. Is there any questions or concerns? All right. Joint intermunicipal committee minute reports. You have your November 2020 and January 2021. Recreation Director, Facility Manager, and Active Living Managers reports. December 2020 minutes and January 2020 AGM minutes.
I see in the dark report about the staff having some difficulties kind of policing this COVID stuff. Is it getting any easier for them? They're not running into too many obstacles, are they?
Not really.
Okay.
They're doing quite well.
Okay.
Yeah.
They really are. Yes.
I met with Sharon last week. I think that December, when the province added I don't know, we can't call it lockdown, the additional restrictions through December, where people had adjusted to what fall was like in there.
Yeah.
So when those changed, that did create, but coming out of them, she was feeling, as Linda said, very good about that. And at the regular level, feeling good about
You
that.
just don't want to spend your whole day, telling, getting after people about wearing
We
masks.
even had a
Okay.
We even had a backup plan for if they'd kept the restraints at 25 for the public skate. We had a plan for that, but went back to 50, so now
We're fine. Also, we had an election at the AGM at night. Marlon is the new chair, and Matthew Ross is the vice chair.
Good. Congratulations.
Is there any questions other than what we just been asked? The DDA, September 2020 minutes. Any questions, concerns? Digby Municipal Fire Association, October 2020 minutes.
They didn't do that request for a $500 tax bursary that Mr. Aldekin was talking about. Was it you that I was talking about that? And you said put it through the fire association, but I haven't seen anything in regards to that.
Mr. Eldrick.
Royce.
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 Yeah.
Right.
Maybe it was you, Matt, I was talking to about that.
I think you talked to both of us, yeah, because you mentioned it. Did you mention it to you? Maybe it was just me.
I think the message was given to him, though, for him to direct it through his fire department
Yes.
to the
Yeah.
association.
Yes,
I
yes.
do recall passing that on.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd mention that.
There is a fire association meeting not next Wednesday, February.
You're on that, right, Matt? No,
Yeah.
Angela is.
It's the second Wednesday in February.
Angela, fill them in about all the money we're giving them. That'll make them happy.
All the money.
The Workers' Compensation Board, yet another reason to join the fire department, if you even needed more.
Okay. The next is King's Transit Authority, September 2020 manager reports, minutes, revised briefing notes, and January 2021 e-news mask. Any questions or concerns? On the mask, there are concerns from some of the passengers.
On the bus?
Because there's people coming on. If the driver comments that there's masks, they get hollered and swore at.
Well,
And if a passenger says, please keep away from me, they're being complained to. I went back to King's Transit. King's Transit went through to the minister, who said that masks are, but if they have a medical reason, nothing can be done.
Can you just make up a medical reason on the spot?
We can't really ask them.
No, yeah, privacy laws, that's right.
But all I'm saying is, I have a friend who's on oxygen 24/7. And when she comes to church with her oxygen in her nose, guess what she has on?
Mask.
A mask. And she said, sometimes it's not the best comfort, but she said, I do believe in protecting other people
Of
as
course.
well as myself.
Yes.
I said, oh, that's nice to hear.
Just
This
rare
person's
attitude these days, it seems.
And, and I've had others. I have a gentleman, he talked with me, he's got severe COPD, and he said, Linda, what can I do? And I said, put a shield on. Just at least put a shield on.
Yeah.
And you know what? He says, if he has to get out to go into the drugstore, he puts a shield on. But he told me the other day, and when he goes into the Valley Regional, there's no excuse. He has to put a mask on. They won't allow just a shield.
There you go.
Yeah, I like
And
that.
that's a hospital is saying, so it just floors my mind when I see people out there walking around in grocery stores without mask on, because and
Everybody's
this
a
is
special
my own
buttercup.
personal.
There.
I don't mean it as council, but own personal. You know what? If you can't wear a mask, then stay home. Don't try to make it worse for others.
Somebody else get the groceries. Yeah.
Yeah, call it in.
With the amount of sacrifice people are willing to do nowadays, I think my grandfather got blown out of his tank and has him 2 weeks behind enemy lines. And then you have the country ask somebody to be mildly polite to keep other people alive, and that's too much for them. It's like, what a difference as the years go on. It's just people are just less and less willing to do even the most minor things for anybody.
Putting on a tie.
The next is the Senior Safety Coordinator, December 2020 reports and July 2020 minutes. Any questions? Concerns?
Senior safety, that's a really good one. You'll
And
enjoy
there is
Matt.
now a new chair for senior safety,
Oh, is Matt chair?
Nope.
Mike Bartley.
Mike Bartlett
Oh, she
is.
looked
And
over at Matt.
Who's the vice chair?
I believe it's me.
Things, man.
Right on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I am.
All right.
That can do a lot of good. She is a great resource, Dawn, and that's a great.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first meeting.
Yeah, you'll like it. Yeah.
Okay. The next is Tyview Terrace, October 2020 minutes. Is there any questions or concerns? We've already brought forward the concerns we'd like you to take back. And we do understand about budgets.
Could we tell the gentleman that wrote the letter of concern what we're doing? Could we maybe include him on the letter that we're sending?
Oh, certainly.
I never thought of that.
Certainly.
Sorry.
So next is the Waste Check December 2020 minutes, September 2020 minutes, Waste Check Connection September, October, and November issue. Any questions or concerns? We will be at our next meeting, going back to the board about the budget, and hopefully that will pass. We had a finance meeting here today on it. And I thought the meeting went very well. We had 3 CAOs and our manager of municipal affairs. Municipal
Services.
I was so close. I was just giving you an increase.
Yeah, okay.
Well, municipal affairs is the province.
We're talking about the pay raise too.
Oh, yeah.
If you are good, the province will try to take you.
Thank you, David, for that.
Except you're not allowed to.
And as we said, we are requesting the EPR meeting. Next was the Western Counties Regional Library September 2020 minutes and December newsletter. Any questions or concerns from the library board? Okay. Next, we have the REN's CEO second quarter report. Is there any questions or concerns?
I have
Yes.
a question for you and Jeff. You're gonna be on Thursday morning? Okay, good. Just wanna make sure. I seen her put it out there, but I didn't see
And
it.
she gave 30 minutes for a response. Not appropriate.
And I was busy today, I didn't see if you responded, so I thought it was a good time to ask you, so.
Outside boards, committee minutes and reports. Southwest Biosphere Society resignation, and that was from the Canadian. I believe your meeting is coming up. George?
I know, I read this stuff, I didn't see anything about a meeting.
Well, no, but there was a, when I sent your name in,
Yeah.
they would have sent you a thing about when the next meeting was. It's sometime, I think, in February.
March 10th.
Oh, March, okay. Okay. And so there really hasn't been a meeting since George has come on.
No, there hasn't been anything.
Now we will go to Councillor District Activity Reports. And I'm going to start and just walk around the room. So David.
I'll make it quick. I found a sponsor for skating, a couple grand. I helped with housing grants. I'll tell you, if there's one thing if the province wants to do for stimulus is there's a 3-year waiting list on housing, and you get people with a hole in their roof waiting 3 years, so a $5,000 bill becomes a $25,000 bill during those 3 years. And so I guess it's the province's way of saving money. But that's something I'll bring up tomorrow, maybe with Gary Burrell. The 4-year plan, it's ridiculous. I deal with so many. The only thing you can get any sort of action on is if someone's going to freeze to death and they have cancer. Other than that, you're not getting nothing for nobody. You got to wait. Me and a friend are going to go up on this old man's roof, Clifton, this gentleman, and we're just going to nail a tarp down over the hole to wait out the 3 years. Because what else can you do? Nothing. I had a mobility scooter I gave to somebody. It was a new one worth a few $1,000s, and the person that needed it didn't even know about its existence. So I was sort of like, "Hey, here's a mobility scooter," and they're like, "Wow, yay!" I've started the process. I'm talking very lightly with Conway Workshop. I want to get a version of Conway Workshop on the islands. There's at least a dozen people that could really use it, and I'm concerned about the kids in school. There's quite a number of them, and in 4 or 5 years when they graduate, there's not going to be anything for them to do. They'll probably just be on the computer. I'd like to have some sort of version of Conway Workshop on the islands. Remember years ago, the fire department gave me a room, and I was going to have a daycare, and I couldn't find anybody to work there. I'm thinking I might be able to do something like that. Find a spot, maybe find them some money, see if I can, borrow, because there's quite a few organizations like this, see if I can find some group that would administer it. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take a couple of years at least, I'm sure. But it's my newest little thing. It was given to me as an idea by Bobby Morgan, the principal.
And you have talked to Conway Workshop?
Yeah, I've just left a notice that, and she was going to get back to me.
Because I was going to say, it's very regulated.
Oh, it is. I can tell. My
Yeah.
wife worked for one of those types of groups when she was in university on the Valley. So I do know they're quite regulated. That's why I'm hoping that maybe I can find someone that could share in the administration of it. See if they're interested in something like that. The teeth, I'm going over the people with the teeth in the community who've been accepted in the program. I've discovered that a few of them have been accepted but have been unable to drive there's no way they can drive to the Valley. So I got to figure out what to do to get them up there. And sometimes when things are really difficult, any sort of obstacle can become insurmountable. And I've noticed that this is kind of happening. And so there's a few people that I was like, oh, great, you got in. Didn't think to even follow up. Followed up on a couple, and I now have to figure out something. I'm probably going to harass Clarendon, Clare Transport. Sorry, I always call it Clarendon. I never called it. I never ever called it Clare. Sorry. I don't think you'd mind. I still call it that. Helping a guy from university and trying to get a guy a job, starting a job. They have a business. The CBDC downtown has like a business, guide to start a business plan guide, and I've probably given out. They've come to completion about a dozen, and I've probably given out like 30 of them through the year. So I gave out. I'm trying to help a fellow with that one of those again. So I'm doing that through a lot of years. If you guys have to head down to the CBDC, grab a couple of these books. They're amazing, and there is like $5,000 microloans that they will give out. Which is enough for a lady on the island, for example, at a hot dog cart. It doesn't take much to. And it did. There you go. So yeah, I've been busy. I've been staying busy.
You don't want to lose your life, right? Okay. You talked about the hot dog carts. I said you just.
Oh yeah. You don't want to get in the hot dog cart business. There's too much competition. It's a highly competitive field. Yeah. Sorry, I'm done.
Okay, George.
Not too much going on the last couple of months. We did finish our asset management thing, which we will be presenting to council whenever Tyler comes up with a date, I guess. He's the lead.
We're all waiting on me.
Tyler goes on vacation.
We were supposed to receive information by now, so I actually need to check with them. But sometime this month, we were supposed to receive the final document. So.
Then that'll come along. There's been not a whole lot of other meetings to go to, so it's been pretty quiet that way. But there's been some calls on the road already. It's not even springtime yet, and where it's been warm, potholes and stuff.
Oh yeah.
If it's frozen, they don't kind of get any deeper or get creative, but being so warm. And also an issue of lights at the end of couple of dirt roads, and I know TIR turned us down last time I brought it up, but I am going to bring it up again, and just so they can turn me down again.
It's a whole new group of bosses, though.
Yeah, but we'll see. My way of thinking is it's a safety issue, and they did spend $500,000, whatever, trying to make the road safer from Weymouth to Digby. It would be safety.
It would make common sense.
Well, yeah. It's as much safe as it is putting a sign at the end of the road that says 101 this way and that way.
So have you already set up the agenda for
Yes.
it? Yeah, wonderful.
That's what it is. That's it.
Oh, okay. Matthew?
Pretty much the same. I've had lots of committee meetings. But one meeting I had in my district was canceled yesterday because of snow, but we'll get to that later. And a lot of phone calls, a lot of internet because of today, and always dealing with that. And getting people's response of civic numbers, where the dead zones are, and stuff like that, getting a feel for that. And I haven't had a whole lot of road calls, but I'm sure it's coming. You're right. As soon as it gets warm, I'll get a bunch of those. But
Well, if we stay cold for a month or so, we'll be all right.
yeah, I've had some interesting calls on some other stuff, and just hearing different kind of things. The phone has been busy. put it that way. And with committee meetings, it's been a busy month.
Okay, Angela.
I've met with the Bear River Board Trade. I've had many phone conversations about the Bear River Lighthouse, Bear River speeding and noise bylaws, and a lot of conversations with the internet. I did review the Turning the Tide Youth Plan and submitted feedback to NSCP after I reviewed that. And I was involved in a webinar with GMIST from Newfoundland about the consumer mindset trends on travel in Atlantic Canada, which was something that ACOA did to see what people's mindsets were for the summer coming and for travel. And it was quite interesting.
What did they say? I'm curious, sorry.
Well, I just mentioned the social media is going to be a major player. You've got to have that part of your business now, because a lot of people that are used to shopping now online and curbside, that's never going to change even after it's over. They said that people in Atlantic Canada don't want to spend as much money on a vacation locally as they would if they were going somewhere else, so they're looking for deals. And they said the best way to do it is if you want to come up with a flash deal, because they said they don't want to plan far ahead, they want a good deal. And,
yeah, you can't plan ahead. I never thought of that. I'm going to pass that on to some people then.
and they also said that the consumer's going to want control. So they said they thought that bed and breakfast may be busier because people think that they're smaller, but they said that's not necessarily the case. The cleaning aspect, they said if you can advertise what you do for cleaning, it's going to help you. And I think Newfoundland has a safe and clean program where you get a sticker, and I don't know how it's regulated, but and also that they said anyone that has a restaurant, they want to dine outside, the province made it easier to get licenses for an outside dining.
Do you have is any of this in like a document that you could send me that I could pass around?
Yeah, I think he did tell me that there was a, yes. Okay.
Sorry, I just got a ton of people that are in the biz here.
And it was something that was done by Tourism PEI and COA, by MQO Research, and they just did a webinar through Grossmorn Institute.
That's mom.
You're on the tourism committee.
I am.
Yes.
And I also was involved with the Danny Graham released the results from the Nova Scotia Quality of Life Survey, Engage Nova Scotia, last week, and that was also interesting. And I said I think when we are making decisions for budget and stuff, it would be a good idea to look at some of those stats. I looked at some of them, like it's 170 some pages and a lot of stats, so I just scrolled down to sort of the summary, and basically in Southwest Nova Scotia, it just said that where we're lower than the province is our job satisfaction, and where we're higher than the provincial average is we have a sense of belonging to the community. But it's really broken down, like a lot of detail. So I just thought it was interesting, because it did say that when you're making decisions, that they say the community says that in order to measure success, 68% say it's by growing the economy, and 81% say it's by the quality of life. So I just thought that was kind of something to keep in your mind when you're making decisions. And then when I looked at where Southwest Nova is, it's like we were already there. Like they're happy with our quality of life, but they're not happy so much with the economic outlook. And so maybe we need to go back a little bit. And I took my first course in municipal finance this morning, and I have 2 more this week.
Congratulations. For me, it has been many Zoom meetings with different organizations, with RIN, but with also with Develop Nova Scotia. I've had a Zoom meeting with Cook's Aquaculture came out, Ben on that meeting, and then they had one for their committee. Also, I have been busy as I was informed today with Housing Authority, that homelessness is not a criteria to have a place.
I know all about it.
And it's scary and it's sad because it's surprising how many people that you don't even realize are it's called coach.
Yeah.
So they've got no place to go, there's no place to rent, they don't have enough money to rent. One gentleman gets $325, I believe he told me, a month to
You're
live
supposed to
on.
live off it.
And he can't find a place to rent, can't find a place to room, and it's really not enough to truly eat.
Yeah.
It's super, super scary, and I have a huge concern of a person I'm trying to deal with right now, and like she's just explained to me, she said, Linda, you know, you're worried about the person being out on the street and they're not well, and we understand that, but that's not a criteria. I said, well, she's been on your list for 2.5 years, and time is running out. No, not a criteria.
Just keep phoning them. I find that helps. Who are you dealing with? The name of the person. Tell me afterwards. I might know.
No, you don't.
I don't.
No.
I meant not the person who need the person's.
Oh!
I'm endlessly bothering people from housing.
Okay. I'm just saying, I mean, I've talked to you, I've talked to Digby. The people that I'm talking to are very, very nice, but they're trying to explain what their restraints are. And I just think there's something wrong with our government that housing has nothing to do with homelessness. There's something not quite.
Here's a
working
statistic
for
for you.
me.
There's 500,000 homeless people in the state, 17 million empty houses. And that statistic is generally transferable here, except that we even have more housing in relation to.
And I have had 3 meetings on housing in the Tri-County areas, and learning new things every day. I have been meeting with Jeff till he probably wants to pull out his hair. And then when I'm not meeting with Jeff, I pick on Tyler because Tyler's good to listen to me rant and rave.
He's paid the big bucks.
Well, and the only thing is, there was these red funny things sticking out of his ears the other day when I came in. He said, just a minute. And they were hanging out, and he never took them out. And he was going. Then when he left, I seen him pulling them back out. But seriously, great staff, because they listen, and sometimes I forget that they
have feelings?
Because I'm growling about whatever. I'm going to use this for an example. I probably shouldn't. Jeff supposedly took Friday off.
I know. Sorry, Jeff. I was part of ruining this day, too.
And he's on. We had a lot of problems come on, and he's being bugged by me. He's being bugged by Tyler because Tyler has to because of other things, and me. Everything was going up. It wasn't a day off for him. It certainly wasn't a day of fun for Tyler either, because it's just, all I'm saying is our staff is very busy. COVID makes people uptight, and I just want to say thank you to all, management and staff, for all you do, because it's like today, I asked a question, and Pat said, I'll do it right away to show you. I said, no, I've got to go into a meeting now, but, right there to help.
Awesome.
And I do appreciate that. So, I do want to say that. So, between having lots and lots of meetings, especially Zoom and phone calls, it's the last couple of weekends have been on real phone calls, and I don't know what's going on. I really don't. Now, I want to go backwards in time with our agenda before we go in camera for contractual things. The letter for St. Mary's Bay Protector, should we be holding that off, or should we be sending it now? That's all I want to ask.
Just send it now.
I think we send it out. It's all government regulations and stuff.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure, because, they are doing a presentation. Okay, then that might help with their presentation as well. Now, I would ask someone to go in camera.
I move that we go in camera.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Please shut the doors.